Good evening, guys. Let's wait for the others also to join. Okay, good evening, guys. Can you all hear me? Am I audible? Muaz, Nafis, Eshma, am I audible? Great, awesome. So, some of y'all know me, some of y'all don't know me. So, I'll just give a brief intro about myself before we start. My name is ArivuPro Academy. So, I have been doing this tax lecturing for a long time now. Uh, Basically, I have been in lecturing for more than 8 years. I'm representing different countries. Currently, I'm working as the Chief Financial Officer of ODOC Private Limited as well. So that's a small briefing about myself. Can I get to know about you guys as well? Nuas, would you mind giving a small intro about yourself so that I can have an idea where to start with? Nafis, how about you? Eshma? Okay, great. Megan?
I just joined. What was the question?
Sorry, Megan, you're not audible. Give me 1 second to check my sounds. No worries. The question was just to get a brief intro, so that's fine. I so we will just have a briefing about how your paper looks like and what are the main topics that we need to focus first of all before we move into the detailed discussions. So, and today we are not going to go for 3 hours. We'll go for 1.5 or 2 hours for today, and the balance hours will catch up on the next lessons. So because I'm out of the country, actually I'm flying back tomorrow early morning. So we'll stick to 1.5 or 2 hours, and the balance hours we will catch up on the balance lessons. Are we good with that? Great. So if we just have a brief intro about how your paper would look like, there would be 3 sections in your paper. Because before we do anything, we should know what kind of a paper are we facing at and what would be the main topics that we have to focus around. So section A is mainly about multiple choice questions and short answers. So we will have 15 questions in section A. Each question will carry 2 marks. When it comes to section B, it is again multiple choices and short answers, but the difference here is these questions will be based on a scenario. So it will be a practical application of what you have learned. The concepts that you have learned, you have to apply practically in this particular section. So you will have 3 scenarios. Each scenario will carry 5 questions and each question will carry 2 marks. Then section C, you have 3 questions, 1 question for 10 marks and 2 more 15-mark questions. So altogether, this is how your paper will look like. 30 marks for section A and another 30 marks for section B, then 40 marks for section C. If you ask me, I would say usually normal trend is students go well on section C comparatively to other 2 sections. Section B, just above the average, the students are okay to score. But section A, what I have seen is students are usually weak on this section A area. There are a few reasons for that. Number one is we don't focus on section A. We focus on more and more and more calculations. As a result, we focus mainly on section A and we lose the OTQ type questions, the straightforward, small multiple choice questions that are appearing in section A. We are completely ignoring that. That is one reason. Second reason, in section C, you would get marks for all your steps. whatever the step you have, if the step is correct, the marks will be granted for those steps. Sorry, even if your final answer is incorrect, for the steps you will get marks. Sometimes in section C, no marks will be allocated for the what you call the final answer. All the marks usually allocated for the steps. But when it comes to section A, it's other way around. There is no way to present the workings. So if your final answer is wrong, then entire 2 marks will be lost. So multiple choice questions are tough because of these two reasons. So that means we cannot ignore these multiple choice questions. Then what can we do to overcome this weakness? Anything that you guys can think of that we can do to overcome this? Great. So the only way is practice more questions. But from where can you access more questions on multiple choices? Section A, section B type of questions, where can you access? Great. So you have two options for that. Number one, you can use Kaplan and BPP materials. Number two, the study hub. So if we go to the study hub, I will just show the study hub also to you all. Just go to Google and type as ACCA Study Hub. Click the first link that appears. Then I usually use the alternate login. Then give your login credentials. Why I use alternate login is sometimes this my ACCA login doesn't work properly. Sometimes it get lagged, sometimes it gets stuck. But alternate login usually works smoother. So that's why I usually use it. But either way is fine. You will access the same portal. Then select the subject. So I'm looking at Taxation UK for exams from June 2023 to March 2024. Then go to study. It will take around 1 minute to load. So once you come here, first of all, you will have all the study materials you need. For all the topics we have in our syllabus, for all these topics, there would be a study material given in the study hub. That is one. If you have any conceptual uncertainties, anything that you are not clear, you have two options. Either reach out to me or use the study hub to clear it out. You can always reach out to me. There is no harm in that. I will help you guys out as well. Then for each chapter, you have quizzes here. Each quiz contains 5 questions. All 5 are multiple choices. So you have 22 chapters. So 22 into 5 multiple choice questions are available here. Here only. But that's not all. Then you have practice questions here. Once you click that, all these OT questions are multiple choice questions. So you can see several multiple choice questions are there. After that, you have section B and C kind of questions as well for each chapter. So that means in the study hub, you have more than enough materials to prepare yourself for the exam. Are we good? Any queries about Study Hub or how to use the Study Hub? Great. Once the Study Hub is done, the next thing is that we have to consider is how to answer a question. When it comes to taxation, there are few basic things that you guys always have to be careful when you are answering to a question. Number one, read the requirement carefully. Start from the requirement. Doesn't matter whether it is section A or B or C. Always start from the requirement. Check what the examiner is asking for. Don't do anything more than that. Don't do anything less than that. Exactly only answer to the point that he is asking for. Second one, unlikely in other papers, in taxation, you have to be very careful about the dates. Dates are very vital when it comes to taxation. A small change in the date might change your entire answer. Therefore, be very, very keen and careful about the dates. Third important thing is when you are writing an answer, try to present it in a presentable manner. Don't just have workings, one working here, one working there, one working at the bottom, one at the middle. Don't try like that. Always start from the main sum. Wherever you are using a working, give a proper working reference on the main sum itself and do the working below. Always follow this kind of a structured method because it's very crucial to present the answer properly. So we are looking at 4 main skills here. One, your technical and conceptual skills that can be addressed through the study materials and these classes and revisions. Two, your analytical skills that can be only done through the practicing of questions. Three, presentation skills that you have to learn. You have to think and present in a very nice manner. When we are into the questions, we will see how we can present a question properly. Fourth one, of course, it's timing. So tax is not an exam where usually you struggle with time. But having said that, there were so many instances where certain students who could not complete the paper within 3 hours. Therefore, we have to focus about timing as well. Whenever you are practicing a question, always make sure you do it with the timing factor in your mind. Are we okay? We are good? Great. Now let's move on to the balance part of our handout. What are the main topics we have? We have UK tax system and tax administration. So this is a topic that we usually don't care too much about. Tax administration, we feel it's full of theory. So we totally ignore this topic. Don't do that mistake. Because gradually the level that they test this tax administration has increased. Last time, one of the papers, there was a 10-mark question from tax administration in section C. So that means it hasn't happened in the past. It was the first time that they have gone for section C for a full question on tax administration. So that means gradually they are increasing the importance that they are giving for the tax administration. So we cannot ignore that just because it's theory. We have to focus a little bit around tax administration also. Next one, income tax and national insurance contribution liabilities. So usually this is one of the 15-mark questions in your exam. I'm not saying always, but majority of the times, this would be one of the 15-mark questions in your section C. Apart from that, there would be certain questions in section A and B as well. Chargeable gains. These days, this is one of the favorite topics for your examiner. In the recent past, he has been testing a lot around chargeable gains as well. Inheritance tax, corporation tax. Most of the time, this is the other 15-mark question, but sometimes they merge income tax and corporation tax together. Finally, we have value added tax. These are the main topics that we need to focus in our exam. So out of these topics, are there any topic that you guys find it difficult compared to the other topics? Or any specific area in these topics that you find it difficult? Because guys, the objective of this revision program is help you out to face the exam. So to do it properly, I should do what you require, not what I want to do. So if you guys can honestly share what are the stuff that you find it difficult, from the next session onwards, I can try to customize the program to focus a little bit more on those areas that you find it difficult. So any particular area that you guys want me to focus a little harder than the other areas? Any area that you guys find it difficult or confusing or tough? Right. So I got one request for NIC. Definitely, I will focus a little bit more on NIC. 1 and 4, tax administration and inheritance. Okay, administration will focus through some model questions. Inheritance will do a revision also. Corporation tax is there in the original plan as well, so that can be addressed anyway. So can I assume these are the main topics that you guys find it difficult? NIC, admin, inheritance, and corporation tax. If I plan for these stuff, are we okay? Great. All right, so today I'm going to discuss a little bit on individual taxes, but all your, no, any area in taxation, if you find it difficult, just let me know. From next week onwards, I'll customize the program in order to address these areas that you guys have highlighted. Are we okay with that? Awesome. Then let's go for the next topic. A small revision on individual income tax. So basically, when it comes to individuals, we have different types of taxes. What are the taxes that you can recall relevant for individuals? So it's a revision. So you guys must have obviously studied. What are the types of taxes that you have learned that are applicable for individuals? Great. Income tax is one that is applicable for individuals. What else? Awesome. Capital gains tax is applicable for individuals. Is that all? Guys, VAT indirectly. The chances are low that a direct impact of VAT comes into the individuals. So we'll not consider it as an individual tax. So apart from income tax and CGT, is there any other tax that comes into the picture for individuals? Good. Inheritance tax is also relevant for the individuals. Good. Yes, NIC is also relevant for the individuals. So if I put this stuff into a diagram, income tax is applicable, NIC is applicable, CGT and inheritance. These are the taxes applicable for individuals. This can be a section A question, guys. They might give you a list of taxes and they might ask out of these, what is not relevant for individuals? That kind of a question can be there in the exam even. Then, income tax. So, income tax is charged based on what? On what are we charging income tax? Great. Non-savings income, savings income, and dividend income. Basically, the types of income that an individual will have, on that we are charging a tax, and that is known as income tax. So if I categorize my income, what are the two main categories of income we have? We have two main categories of income. Can anyone recall? Non-savings income and investment income. These are the two main types of income that we have for individuals. So what are the types of non-savings income that an individual can have? Trading income, employment income, property income. Great. What else? There was one other type of income. There were four altogether. Super. Pension income. Non-savings income, we have four categories. Trading, employment, pension, and property. What are the types of investment income that we have? Great. We have two types of investment income, that is dividend and savings. Under savings, we have two categories, but mainly we are focusing on the bank interest out of these two. Then slabs and rates for income. So we have a slab basis to charge income tax. So these are the types of rates we have. We have starting rate, nil rate, basic rate, higher rate, and additional rate. And what are the rates we use and what are the rates or slabs are varying depending on the type of income. For non-savings income, what are the rates applicable? Great. For for non-savings income, basic rate, higher rate, and additional rate will be applicable. Starting rate and nil rate does not come into the picture. Good. So basic rate would be 20%, higher rate would be 40%, and the additional rate would be 45%. Savings income. What are the slabs or the rates applicable? Great. So all of these are applicable for savings income. Starting rate 0%, nil rate 0%, Basic rate 20, higher rate 40, and additional rate 45. So what is meant by the starting rate? Okay, great. I got one answer. Right, I got few answers. So let me explain a little bit about what is this starting rate. Starting rate applies if any portion of your savings income falls within the first £5,000 of your taxable income. Keep in mind, taxable income. Any portion of your savings income falls within the first 5,000 of your taxable income, then starting rate comes into the picture. So what are the instances that starting rate might be applicable in this case? In what kind of a scenario starting rate will come into the picture? Great. So there can be two scenarios. One, there is no non-savings income at all, or your taxable non-savings income is less than £5,000. Scenario number one, there is no taxable non-savings income itself. Scenario number two, your non-savings income is your taxable non-savings income is less than £5,000. Only in these two scenarios, starting rate will come into the picture. What about the nil rate band for savings income? We all agreed 0% is applicable. But how does it define? When will nil rate band come into the picture? Great. If you are a basic rate taxpayer, then £1,000 will be given. If you are a higher rate taxpayer, then £500 will be given. Then dividend income. What are the rates applicable? Great. Except for starting rate, all the other rates are applicable. So starting rate is not applicable. Nil rate is applicable. So basic rate, how much is a basic rate for dividend income? Great. It will be 8.75. The basic rate would be 8.75. How about the higher rate? Good. 33.75. Additional rate? Awesome. 39.35. So these are the tax rates or the slabs applicable for income tax for individuals. So one thing that you guys have to keep in your mind is that, guys, this is the last paper with these prevailing rates. After your exam, these rates are going to change. And from June onwards, the new rates will be applicable. Are you okay? So the new rates from the additional rate itself, the rates are going to change. So right now, our additional rate band is 150,000. Anything above 150 will be captured at 45%. But that is going to come down for 125, 140. Dividend income nil rate band currently is at £2,000. That is going to come down to £1,000. Likewise, from the beginning itself, tax rates are going to change from the next exam onwards. That means what we need to do? Great. We have to give our best attempt and get through this time somehow. Because if you are trying again means that is going to be really, really tough for you all. So somehow this time we have to get through the exam. But don't worry, it's not mission impossible. You can do that. You just need to attempt. Just attempt, and whatever you have doubts, reach out to me. Don't keep anything that you are not sure in your mind. Don't keep any uncertainties. Just reach out to me if there is anything that you are not clear. There is nothing called stupid questions. Stupidity is not raising the question. If there is anything that you have doubts, just always make sure that you reach out to me. All right. Then we are moving on to a small template of basic income tax computation. You don't need to stick to this template. This is just to introduce you how the format will be, but you can always go ahead with your own format. This is not that relevant because in your exam, they will not focus on this format. They will ask you a completely different set of questions where you have to start from the middle, not from the bottom. But always make sure, like I said, you present the answer in a professional manner. Therefore, always type or start with the name of the taxpayer. Then mention what are you going to compute. In this case, you are going to do the income tax computation. So I have given the title as income tax computation. Then give the tax year. Tax year starts from when and ends from where? When does it start and when does it end? The tax year.
kalau macam kelas තියෙනවා bang revision එක bang
It would be 6th April to 5th April, not 5th to 6th. Would be 6th April to 5th April. Are you okay? Great. Right. So we are starting with trading income or whatever the non-savings income. The order is fine. I have gone with trading, employment, property, and pension. This is my total non-savings income. Then I'm going to my building society interest and bank interest. Dividends, this is known as my total income. From total income, I am deducting reliefs. Once I do that, I derive at net income. From net income, I have to deduct the personal allowances. Then I derive at the taxable income. Are we good? Awesome. Then there is something called donations. This usually plays a bit of a role in your exam. So what are the types of donations that you have? Yes, certain NICs are allowed to be deducted from trading income. Basically, employer class 1 contribution and employer class 1A contribution can be deducted against the trading income. Yes, before including in the calculation, you have to do that. When you are calculating the tax adjusted trading profit, at that point, you have to consider these deductible NICs. Megan, are you okay? Great. Yes, Rahisha, I agree with you. We have basically three types of donations. We have gifted donations, we have payrolling donations, and we have trading donations. So what is meant by gifted donations? Great. These are donations made to approved or registered charities. Not all charities, only for registered charities. So how do we treat these gifted donations in taxation, or are they in income tax? What is our treatment for gifted donations? Yes, increase the basic rate band. Okay, good. What else? Yes, correct. Increase the basic rate band by the gross amount. What else? What is meant by this gross amount? We can deduct it to derive at the adjusted net income also. Yes, the other one is 20% gross up benefit. So that means whatever the donation you have actually made, we assume that is only 80% of the donation. So that means if you donate 8,000 pounds, we assume that is equal to 80%. Then how can we figure out 100%? Great. 8,000 divided by 80 into 100. Correct. So 10,000 would be the donation that we consider for income tax purpose. That is grossing up. We are giving a 20% upfront benefit. Apart from that, like Moaz said, we will be extending our tax rate band, not just the basic rate band, all the tax rate bands we will be extending from the gross donation amount, all the tax rate bands. Plus, when you are deriving at your adjusted net income, gross gifted donation is allowed to be deducted. So these are the benefits or the tax treatment for gifted donation schemes. Are we okay? Great. Next one is payrolling donation scheme. So what do we mean by a payrolling donation scheme? Anyone who can recall? Employer will do it on our behalf. Slightly correct, partially correct. Deduct from employment income, correct. So payrolling donation means we give specific instructions to our employer to deduct X amount from my employment income and remit it to a registered charity. So it will be directly deducted from my employment income itself. We call these kind of a scheme as a payrolling scheme. So what is the treatment for payrolling scheme when it comes to income tax calculation? Great. We will just deduct it from our employment income. Good. What is meant by trading donations? Any idea? Yes, payrolling, the only thing we have to do for tax purpose is straight away deduct it from your employment income. Muaz, are we good? Great. So trading donations means these are donations done for trading purposes. So how can we identify whether it is a trading donation or not? What are the criteria we need to consider when it comes to trading donations? Anyone? What are the criteria we need to check when we are evaluating whether it is a trading donation or not? Needs to be within of business in meaning of business income. Okay. Local charity, registered charity. Okay, good. I'm getting different answers. The others, you guys are also encouraged to join the discussion. Let's make a two-way discussion. So this revision program, guys, has two aspects. Number one, revising what you have learned. Number two, practicing questions. So each topic, after we do the revising, we will be doing a model question on that particular area. Should be reasonable compared to the business. Great, good. Only for trading purpose. Have to have a marketing slogan. Okay, good. Yes, I agree with the points that you have raised. It should be wholly and exclusively for the trading purpose. Local and reasonable compared to the size of the business. Made to a registered charity. So these are the criteria that needs to be complied for a donation to be considered as a trading donation. Are we good? Okay, let's take an example for that. How a donation can be for trading purpose. Let's take a example. Do you know who is the main sponsor or main donator for cancer hospitals? Who's the main donator? No, not Bill Gates. Not Bill Gates. Yes, it is British Tobacco. BTC is the highest contributor or highest donator for the cancer hospitals globally. So is that a pure donation or is it a business or trading related donation? What is your view? It's a trading related donation, isn't it? We are just trying to build up a brand name for us by showing a exactly one purpose is keeping the customer alive. Second purpose is to do a branding, isn't it? We are trying to brand ourselves saying, look here, you get sick, fine, we'll take care of you. It's not our fault, but you got sick, we'll take care of. Aren't they trying to create a brand awareness like that? Great. So isn't that a trading related donation then? Even though it's a donation? I don't think they will bother about karma. Because honestly, what I feel is BTC or these tobacco companies are not doing anything wrong. They produce because people consume, right? So if you believe it's not good for your health, you can avoid consuming that. Exactly. No one forces us to buy. It's people who are the guys who and buy it. So if you know it's not good for you, you can refrain from using these alcohol and smoking stuff. Are we good, guys? Right. Moaz, did I address your question? Great. Now I have another question for you all. Assume there is a donation which is done by an individual businessman, but it doesn't qualify for the trading donation. Does that mean he doesn't have any benefit at all on this donation that he has done? I'm repeating the question. There is an individual businessman who has done a donation which does not qualify these criteria to be considered as a trading donation. Does that mean he will not get any kind of a benefit at all? Great. If that is the case, we can give the gifted donation scheme for that person. If you are not coming under the trading donation scheme, you can always opt for the gifted donation scheme. Are we good? Great. Then we are coming to the employment income. So under employment income, there are two main things that we need to be very careful about: allowable expenses and employment benefits. So what are these allowable expenses? Can anyone recall what is meant by allowable expenses? I'm not asking for examples. I'm asking what is meant by allowable expenses. Great. These allowable expenses means the types of expenses that we can deduct from our employment income. Great. Then employment benefits. When it comes to employment benefits, we have two main kinds of employment benefits. Number one, exempted benefits. Number two, taxable benefits. So what do we mean by these exempted benefits? Great. So exempted benefit means it is a benefit, but we do not tax it. It is out of the scope of our tax. It's a benefit, but we do not tax it. Are we good? Great. Now, allowable expenses. Payroll deduction schemes are considered as allowable expenses. Then, travel expenditure. We have different kinds of travel expenditure. So, what are the travel expenditure we consider as allowable expenses? Can anyone recall? There were few types of travel expenses that we allowed. Can anyone recall what are those? Great. Client visits. If it's not normal business travel, going to client places. Okay, good. Client visits we can allow. Travel between your home and temporary workplace can be allowed. Good. What else? Yes, temporary workplace can allow. How about travel between two locations of the same employer? Within UK 5 is the overnight one. It's the overnight expenses, not the traveling partner. Wholly and exclusively for the work purpose is a general term. That's applicable for any kind of expense. Great. It can be allowable. If you are traveling between two different business locations of the same employer, that can be allowed. What about traveling between two different employers? Can we allow that? Now, for an example, I work at PPIM and I work at ODOC as well. So, traveling from ODOC to PPIM, can I claim that as an allowable expense? Okay, I got one answer as no. The others, what are your thoughts? Great. It cannot be allowed to be deducted. It is not an allowable expense. How about travel between home to main place of business or primary working place? How about that? Great. It is not allowable. Good. Then the next one, allowable mileage allowance payment. So what is this mileage allowance and when will it come into the picture? Yes, it comes into the picture if it differs from the HMRC rate. But what is meant by this mileage allowance? And when will this mileage allowance concept will come into the picture? When employer contributes to expenses incurred when using own vehicle. Good. Great. So mileage allowance comes into the picture if an employee use his or her personal vehicle for the purpose of employment. For employment purpose, if the employee uses his or her personal vehicle, then the mileage allowance comes into the picture. Usually, if that happens, employer will pay some amount of money based on the mileage that you have incurred for official purposes. Are we clear? Right. Then, how to calculate mileage allowance? We have to think about whether it is equal, more or less than the HMRC rate. There is a limit given by the HMRC. If your mileage allowance is equal to the HMRC limit, then there is no taxable benefit or no allowable deduction. If your actual mileage allowance is lower than the HMRC limit, then there would be an allowable expense or allowable deduction. But if it is other way around, your mileage allowance is greater than the HMRC limit, then the gap will be taxable. These are the three scenarios when it comes to the allowable mileage payment. Are we good? Awesome. So what is the HMRC limit? Can someone recall that? Great. First 10,000 miles, 0.45 pounds or 45 pennies. Anything above that, 0.25 pounds or 25 pennies. Are we okay? Awesome. So there are other allowable expenses as well. Since this is a revision, I'm just revising the most important stuff in the allowable expenses. Are we okay? Great. Then exempt benefits. Under exempt benefits, first one is trivial benefits. What is meant by a trivial benefit? Gift, okay? Does all kind of gifts comes under the trivial benefit category? Yes, insignificant small benefits or small gifts given to an employee can be considered as a trivial benefit. But are all trivial benefits exempted from tax? That is 50 pounds. The amount is 50 pounds. Muaz, are we okay? Great. So the limit would be per employee per year 50 pounds. If it is less than that, we consider that as a trivial benefit. Exactly. Even though, good Nafis, even though trivial benefits less than 50 pounds are exempted, that is not applicable for vouchers. If it is a voucher, irrespective of the amount, that will be taxable. Yes, it should be not related for work as well. But in practical world, would there be any trivial benefits that an employer gives to an employee that is not relevant for his work? What do you think? Will that actually happen in practical context? Yeah, I got two answers as no. What are the thoughts of the others? No. Okay, first they don't pay enough salary even, okay? Why will they give benefit? Good point. But guys, there are instances like that. So personally, I have received. So when I was working at an audit firm, for each of my birthdays, I mean, after I became a manager though, for each of my birthdays, they were used to give me some gifts. Some of them I'm still using. After around 8 years, I'm still using some of those gifts that they have given to me. Yes, it is not zero. Certain organizations, we do have that. And when you work for an organization for a while and you retire from that or you resign from that, sometimes they give a small farewell, isn't it? A small token of appreciation. Don't you think that can happen? Yes. So these are additional benefits that are given, not related to work, isn't it? So practically it can happen. It's not mission impossible. Just that in our country it is low, but it can happen. Even in Sri Lanka it happens. Are we good? Okay. The next is employer's contribution to a registered pension scheme. So if employer do a contribution to a registered pension scheme, is there a benefit for the employee? If your employer contributes anything to a pension scheme on behalf of you, do you have a benefit from that? Yes, agree, we do have a benefit, but we don't have to pay taxes on that because that is an exempted benefit. Correct. Next one, subsidize on-site restaurant or canteen facilities only if it is given commonly for all the employees. If it is only for a set of employees, then that is taxable. But if it is given commonly for all the employees, then of course, we can consider that as an exempt employment benefit. So does employers do that? Do they actually have subsidized restaurants or canteens within the office premises? Do they really have it? Yes, certain places they do. My previous employer had. So certain places they do have. Next one, cost of parking facilities or on or near the workplace, including reimbursement of such facilities. So that's a straightforward one. I don't think I need to elaborate a lot on this point. Am I correct? Great. Next point, one mobile phone for private use. So if your employer gives you a mobile phone for both business and private use, then if it is only one mobile, it is exempted. What if your employer gives you two mobile phones? Second one is tax. Okay, how do we tax the second one? What is the amount we take? %. 20% of what? 20% of the cost. Market price. I would say it should be 20% of the market value at the time of giving the asset to the employee or at the time of giving the phone to the employee. Are we okay? Great. Next one, traveling assistance other than a car, given it is generally available for all employees. Except for cars, any other kind of a traveling assistance is exempted as far as it is commonly given for all the employees. Parties and gathering. But for that also, we do have a limit. Can someone recall the limit? We have a per head limit for parties and gatherings. Awesome. £150 is the limit. So if it is above 150, then the full amount will be taxed, not only the excess. Then workplace nurseries given for childcare is exempted. Relocation and removal expenses are allowed up to 8,000. If anything beyond that, excess is taxable. Overnight expenses, this is what Naja has explained earlier. Loan interest, where the loan amount is less than or equal to £10,000. Provision of job-related accommodation. So we have to discuss this job-related accommodation under property income. Recommended medical treatment for employees up to £500. So what is this recommended medical treatment? There were some criteria that we need to meet if we are going to claim for this one. Can someone recall those criteria? Anyone who can recall the criteria? 28 consecutive days. Okay, so the employee is not in a position to come to work for 28 consecutive days. Good. What else? The purpose of giving the benefit should be to help the employee to return to work, and the recommendation should come from an approved practitioner. Are we okay? Guys, are we clear? Great. Next one, entertainment expenses provided by a third party for good service. Can this happen? Can there be instances where a third party will give you some entertainment for good service? Can someone give an example for that? Yes, sometimes once you give a proper service to the client, you might be invited for lunch and dinners. So these are benefits or entertainment provided by third parties based on the services that you have provided. Good. Next one, gift received by third parties for good service as far as the value of the gift is less than £250. Long service awards for 20 years or more, per year $50. So up to 20th year, nothing will be allowed. From 20th year onwards, for each year, £50 are allowed. Are we good? Great. Their provision of transport and accommodations or subsidies where the public transport is disrupted. Employer-funded trainings are allowed. Medical insurance are allowed. Welfare counseling is available. Pension advisors are allowed. Employee liability insurance are allowed. I'm not explaining too much because these are straightforward. Providing eye test and glasses are allowed, given that is given for all the employees in common. Okay, next one is a working from home story related one. This came as a result of COVID-19. If an employee working from home increase in his household expenses up to £6 per week is allowed without any evidence. So you can claim that. Excess also can be claimed if you can provide proper evidence. Is that clear or do we want to re-explain that? Great. Next one is living accommodation. So what is meant by living accommodation? In any topic, guys, always the first question is what is that and why is that? Then only we need to go for the numbers, because without knowing the concept, just memorizing the steps and doing a calculation is not going to help you in the exam. Great. So home, yes, great. So that means employer has provided a residence. It could be a home, it could be an apartment, it could be a flat, anything. Is it a taxable benefit? No, you can't assume any benefit given for all the employees are exempted, because if that is the case, salary is also given for all the employees, right? Then that also should be exempted. It's not in that way. Only the specified ones that we discuss now, if those are given commonly for all the employees, then we can allow that as a exempted income. Megan, are we okay? Great. So living accommodation means an employer has provided a residence. It could be a house, apartment, flat, anything, just a residence. then it will be taxable in general context. But when it comes to living accommodation, we have two categories. Number one, basic charge, and number two, expensive accommodation. So what is known as basic charge? What is considered as basic charge? No, I'm asking only about the basic charge, Megan. Basic charge means annual value and the rent paid by the employer. Out of these two, the higher one. Rent paid by the employer and the annual charge. Out of these two, the higher one will be considered as the basic charge. Are we good? Great. Then what is expensive accommodation? More than 75K, right? Cost more than 75. Good. So when it comes to expensive accommodation, guys, listen to this very carefully because this is an area where most of the students commit a very common error. Yes, your comment is also correct, Nafis. It should be owned by the employer, true. Otherwise, there won't be an expensive accommodation anyway. So when we are evaluating the expensive accommodation, yes, first point we need to check is whether the cost plus subsequent improvements greater than or less than 75,000 pounds. If it is less than 75,000 pounds, expensive accommodation is out of the equation. That is the first step that we need to follow. Check cost plus subsequent improvements are more than 75,000 or less than 75,000. If it is less than 75,000, expensive accommodation is not applicable, it is out. If it is more than 75,000, then you have another test. You have to check whether when has the employer purchased this. If he has purchased within less than 6 years, when he first give the house to the employee, then no problem. Go for cost plus subsequent improvements. If not, if he has purchased more than 6 years ago, then you have to consider the market value. So step number one, check whether cost plus improvements is above 75,000 or not. If the answer is yes, cost or market value based on the number of years. If the answer is no, expensive accommodation is not applicable at all. Are you okay? Great. Then there's something called, what do you call the job related accommodation as well. So is it fair if I tax all the kinds of accommodations provided by the employer? Is it fair? Why isn't it fair? Why do you think it's not fair? Sometimes could be for business purpose, but for that we can't help, right? So, for an example, now if you are in Colombo and you got a job in Kandy, so if he provides accommodation for you, that's for business purpose, right? But still, that is a benefit for you. Otherwise, you will have to find a house for rent, isn't it? Do you guys know Mr. What is his name? Joe Biden? Do you guys know Mr. Joe Biden? Great. So where does he live these days? Where does Mr. Joe Biden usually lives? Okay, good one. He's supposed to live at White House, right? Does he has an option other than living at White House? Assume he wants to live at a home in a village. He doesn't like this city area. He don't want to stay in White House. Can he stay in a village? Why he can't? He's the president, right? President of United States. So why he can't live in a village if he prefer to? Exactly. There is a security problem, right? There can be security reasons. So he might not be able to live in a village even though he want to do that. So then if we ask him to pay taxes just because, I mean, from his point of view, that is his employment, right? Being the president of United States is his employment. So that's why he's getting a salary. So just because of that, if we ask him to pay taxes for White House as a job related, as a providing of living accommodation, is it fair from his point of view? It's not fair, right? Even though if he don't want to live there, he can't leave the place. So those kind of stuff, if the accommodation is provided for security reasons, it's not fair to tax that. Second situation, do you know caretakers? Great. So you have a property in your area. You appoint a caretaker from Colombo and ask him to take care of the property. Can he do that? Property is in Nuvarelia and he is in Colombo. It's not practical, right? So he has to live there if he wants to take care of the property, isn't it? He can do a Zoom call too, but can he take care of the place? So caretaker's responsibility would be do the repairs, check whether repairs are required, maintenance, whether it is done properly. If not, he has to take actions against that. So can he do that by being in Colombo? I don't think so. So if that is the case, if we just ask him to pay income tax just because he has been given a property in Aurelia, is it fair? Yes, he can hire someone, but to do that also he has to visit the property and check it, isn't it? Otherwise, he doesn't know what is the situation. Do you guys agree with the point? Right. So these kind of stuff we cannot tax because even though those people does not want to do that, if they want to perform their job, they have to reside at that place. Therefore, these we call as job related accommodations and we exempt those from income tax. Are we good? Great. Right. The next part will take a bit of a time, guys. So is it okay if we conclude for today at this point? Only for today, I am going to wind up a little early. We'll catch up this on the next classes. Great. So before we wind up, there's a usual question that I request on my first day in any kind of a class. This is the way that I have planned to deliver this revision session. Do you guys have any suggestions or any complaints or your thoughts about the way that we are conducting, whether it is good or bad or any improvement suggestions? Anything is welcome. Physical would be a problem because it's the night time. I don't think we will have people for physical. Let me check with them anyway, but I don't think physical is practical. Yes, we do plan to do questions. Once we are done with one particular topic, for that topic, we will do a model question. Is that okay, Ali? You want to see me? Great. So I'm available on Sundays at PPIM. At any Sunday, you can just visit and meet me. I'll be there. From this week onwards, I'll be back in Sri Lanka. So you guys can visit PPIM at any Sunday. I'll be there from morning to afternoon. Not a full syllabus revision. We're planning to do only important topics and some questions around that. Of course, you can always visit and meet us. We are always available for you all. Thank you very much. Anything else, guys, that you guys want to highlight? Great. Then let's catch up on the next week, guys. Super. I'm glad to hear that. So let's continue then from next week onwards. We'll make sure we have the full time slot after that. And we'll do certain questions as well for each topic. Great. Then thanks for the participation, guys. Hope to see you guys on the next week as well. Thanks again. Then good night. Take care.